Hello there, it's Rich here from Serious Cricket, and today we're going to show you how to knock in your cricket bat. Okay, so we've got a special guest with us. It's Neil Ryder. Welcome, Neil. Neil is the Managing Director of Serious Cricket. He opened the first Serious Cricket store in 2005 and in a former life was the England women's manager. So who better to ask how we can knock our cricket bat in? But the first question is, why do we need to do it?
Really important question, Rich. First of all, English willow bats are made from natural fibres, and what we're trying to do is condense those fibres when we're knocking in the bat, so that when we go out, the bat is going to perform how we would like it to. We're going to try and score as many runs, obviously, but we really want that springiness out of the bat, which is gained when the fibres are compressed. Yeah. The ball reacts much better out of them. So the first reason is really performance. The second key reason, though, is to prevent any damage occurring on the face of the bat or the edges or the toe, particularly early on in a bat's lifetime. You're going to get cracks early on if it's not been knocked in, and we want to avoid that. And you avoid that by compressing those fibres by the knocking in process. So two reasons really: performance and then protection.
Right, let's think about how we're going to knock it in.
Okay, so quite crucial this bit then. There's two ways of really knocking in your bat. First of all, you've got a hand method of knocking in your bat, or you've probably got a machine method. Okay. Now, most of us in this country are unfortunately going to be doing this by hand. So you can either use what's known as a bat mallet, a wooden bat mallet. I have known some people try to do it with an old ball in a sock, but I'd probably recommend bat mallet as your best tool for knocking in a bat. How you go about it, first of all, literally get a feel for the mallet on the willow. You're going to go up and down the bat.
Notice that you're going up and down the middle there.
Yeah, so even by just going up and down the middle, you'll start to feel different springiness in the bat. Yeah. You'll hear slightly different sounds as well. You'll get an optimum feel for where the best performance of the bat is. That's not really the area to focus on. All that's doing is just getting you a good feel for being able to hit your cricket bat. It's quite an unnatural thing. You bought a brand new cricket bat and now you're going to hit it with a mallet. Yeah. That just seems unnatural. So just get a bit of confidence. Once you've done that, the real focus is the edges and the toe area of the bat. Yeah. Then spend some time up and down the edges, down the bottom, and so forth. The most common mistake we see of people knocking in their edges is taking the mallet and hitting it sideways on. Ooh, yeah. Do not do that. That is going to damage your brand new bat almost beyond repair, because that's going to crush the fibres going into the edge that way. We don't want that. Not a good idea. A good way is to try and imagine just skimming the edge of the bat, and you'll start to see in the light, and we see that in the camera, the edge of the bat.
So you're getting a few little indentations there, that compressing that you were talking about.
So that's the compressions that we're looking for.
Are there any areas, so you talked a little bit about the edges here. Don't want to go bang directly on the toe either, do we? So I just want to avoid that.
We're not doing that.
No.
We're not going in there.
Perfect.
We don't need to worry about anything past the splice area. The splice area of a cricket bat is the triangle that you will see in the cricket bat there. You don't need to worry about anything further north of that. Everything should be below the splice of the bat.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got that bit as the hand method, the mallet method. Next method's going to be
is really using a proper knocking in machine. Yeah. Now, there's not many of those in the country. We're fortunate at Serious Cricket that we've got use of one, so we can do that for our customers. Advantages of knocking it in by a machine is it's been consistently done in the right areas across the whole blade. Big factor. You don't need to listen to that horrible sound, and obviously you don't need to spend all that time on doing it. So I think if you're knocking in a bat by hand and it's an adult bat, you're going to need to look to work on your bat for about 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
That is a long stretch of time.
Yes.
In one single go.
I'd be breaking that up in little half an hour slots, 20 minutes.
Half an hour chunks over a couple of weeks is
Yeah.
probably your best bet. Of that 4 to 5 hours,
Oh yeah, good.
probably the favourite thing that everyone's going to do is try and hit the middle,
Yes.
because that feels good, and then
Yeah.
you think, I've got a cracking bat here. But actually, you probably only want to spend 20% of your time on the middle of the bat and spend the other 80% really working hard on the edges around the toe, because that's what's going to protect your bat longer term.
Okay. So that was adult. How about junior bats? How long do you think for them?
Juniors, I'd imagine you'd be okay with probably half the time, so maybe about 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Differences are slightly less willow in a junior bat, and also the balls aren't coming down quite as quick.
Yeah.
So, and they're probably not as being hit as powerfully. So
And different types of balls too, aren't they? Some softer balls, some incredible, some hard ball.
yeah,
And they're also not the top end quality ball, which means they're usually a bit softer and therefore your
well,
bat will still last.
I mean, you've touched on a point there, Rich, and that is why we're knocking in a bat.
Mm.
Real top end bats are soft willow.
Yes.
They're softer willow because you get really good performance out of them. The ball comes flying out of the bat, and ultimately that's why you've paid probably a bit more money for your bat.
Mm.
It's really important that you knock those in even more, because that's going to compress those fibres around the edges to protect it. And when you've spent that money on a really good bat, you will want to make sure that the edges and toe last as long. The middle will go for as long as you keep scoring runs for. It's making sure we look after the edges and the toe. Got one real good tip for you though.
Oh yeah.
Knocking it in by hand,
Yes.
it's a time intensive process. I don't have any problems with youngsters or adults getting on a bowling machine and using some bowling machine balls. They're not going to damage your bat, but what they're going to do is start the knocking in process for you as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if I had a choice of either standing here with a mallet, should certainly do that for some hours, but if I've also got a choice of going in the net on a bowling machine with some soft compounded balls,
Yeah.
that's going to be far more enjoyable way of starting to knock my bat in. So
No problem.
probably I would recommend a bit of both, the bat mallet and getting it on a bowling machine against some of those balls. Way more enjoyable.
So Neil, does every bat need knocking in?
Not every single bat, you'll be pleased to know.
Okay.
There's a couple of exceptions.
Yeah.
If you've purchased what we call a cashmere willow bat, which is
Yeah.
really used junior cricket, probably size 3 and below or 4 and below. If you're playing with incredibles and softballs, you don't need to worry about knocking your bat in. Once you get into English willow bats, some of the manufacturers now offer what we call a pre-prepared bat. This one here, actually, from Gunn & Moore, it's actually got, and you see there, Rich,
You can, yeah.
it's actually got GM now. That's their version of what we call a pre-prepared bat.
Okay.
So it's already been run through a knocking in machine.
Yeah.
One version that we talked about earlier, it's probably had a few hours on that.
Yeah.
We'd still recommend probably a couple of hours knocking in, so probably half the time of a full knocking in process. So if you get a pre-prepared bat, probably only need half the time of knocking in. One good tip for you, if it doesn't come with an anti-scuff sheet, I would recommend asking your local retailer or wherever you're purchasing your bat from to put an anti-scuff sheet on. They're normally about £5, but what they are is a clear laminate almost that further protects the bat. And if you haven't done quite the full amount of knocking in, it will just hold the edges together a little bit further. Some people might even put a piece of fiberglass bat tape on the edges there just to further enhance that. But there are a couple of certainly good tips that reduce some of the knocking in time. Ultimately, if you want ultra performance with ultra protection,
Yeah.
knock it in for as much as you can.
Okay. No, that looks really good. And obviously, the other thing you can do is you can put a toe guard on as well. Just protects the bottom of the toe, doesn't it?
Yeah, all that does is really stop the moisture getting up from the bottom of the bat early season.
So we're all desperate to get out there with our new bat. So when can we do that?
Well, that's the key question, isn't it? When can we actually start using it? Right. As we mentioned at the beginning of this, what you're trying to do is condense the fibres in that bat.
Yeah.
So another key question to that is also how hard do I hit the bat with my mallet. Early on, if I really hit it hard, I'm going to see that there's a few indentations still in that bat.
Yeah.
So it's still not ready. Ideally, when I'm hitting the bat with my mallet, it's going to iron out all those indentations. Another good way is to get a cricket ball, bounce a cricket ball up and down on it. If you're getting seam marks in the willow, then it's still very soft. And you want to avoid that, so it probably just needs a little bit more further knocking in.
So I think we've got a ball here, so let's have you pass me the mallet and you'll have a go.
So if you literally just bounce the ball up and down the bat, and then have a look, see where you've got to. We can see there, it's because we haven't knocked this bat in yet fully. There's a couple of seam marks just showing on the blade of the bat, so probably still not quite ready.
Perfect.
Needs a little bit
so
more.
Keep going with a bit more knocking in on that one.
Keep going with a bit more. Then once you've got to the point where you're not making any indentations with a mallet or seam marks aren't appearing, you're probably ready to go. Slight word of caution, probably start in the nets, get someone with some old cricket balls just to throw you a few, just to have a go there, have another double check, should be okay to get going, and then you'll be ready to face that opening bowler on a Saturday to hopefully get out there and score some runs.
So we've knocked in our bat now, and the next thought is we're going to weatherproof it so we can get outside. So we've got a process called oiling the bat. What do we do here? What does that look like?
Well, it's a slight misconception that I guess oiling is going to totally weatherproof your bat. Ultimately, wood is a natural material, but what the oiling does is protects it slightly, but also it keeps the wood nice and soft and supple. So by being slightly softer, it prevents it from cracking and splitting later on in life. So very important to oil your bat. If you've got a cashmere willow bat, you probably don't need to oil it. It's English willow bats we're talking about now. So English willow bat, you're going to need to oil it, and certainly oil it before the start of a season. If your bat has a sheet of anti-scuff on the face,
also like this one,
which a lot now come with, that protective cover, you're never going to be able to get any oil through that.
No.
Okay, so if you've got a bat like that, you're going to oil the back of the bat, avoid the stickers, and avoid the splice area. Don't go near the splice. It's the triangle between the bat handle and the bat itself. So you're going to oil the back of the bat with some raw linseed oil. You don't want to try and change the colour of the bat. You don't want to turn it from this colour to a dark brown.
So something like an over-oiling?
Yeah, that would be over-oiling. You just want a nice light coat, back of the bat, leave it horizontal overnight, and then the oil seeps through the willow, making sure it's nice and soft. If you've got a bat that doesn't have a sheet of anti-scuff on the front, you've got a nice clean wooden blade, then you can go straight through the top. So you can go through the blade side, light coat of oil, do the same thing. You can even oil the edges, that won't do it any harm. Leave it horizontal overnight. If you stand them up like that, then all the oil just seeps to the bottom of the bat. Exactly. So the toe becomes very heavily oiled because everything ends down the bottom and nothing at the top.
Sounds good. So if we talked a little bit about over-oiling there, if we under-oil,
I mean, under-oiling doesn't do it any harm, but it's not really protecting it and keeping it supple. So you're better off under-oiling than over-oiling, but if you do under-oil it, just oil it 3 times a year instead of before the season. I definitely recommend beginning of the season and the end of the season.
Perfect.
And sometimes it depends where you've stored your bat. Through the winter. Where'd you keep yours?
Oh, so I keep mine in the car, so it's in a bit more of a natural sort of environment. If I keep it indoors, you've got central heating, dries it all out. Not a great idea.
So if it's inside in a warm environment, I keep mine in my garage. Inside warm, central heating, dries the bat out, you'll need more oil. Oiling is just to keep the willow soft. Do you want to have a go?
Yeah, come on, let's have a go. Right, got this bat. So what's the plan? What am I doing?
So I would start, you've got your raw linseed oil. You probably want to apply it with some kitchen roll or an old cloth or something like that, or have that on standby. I sometimes either put it on the kitchen roll and then wipe it on, or you can put a little drop on and then spread it out as you go. Let's do this between us, shall we? So there we go. It's not too runny, it's quite thick in consistency, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go up and down the face. now that I've done that, I'm going to go to the edges. And I've done that, I'll do the other edge.
So I think straight away people watching this video are going to see that's not miraculously changing the colour of the bat. You're just literally getting a nice good light coat of raw linseed oil on it. It's going to keep the willow nice and soft all the way through.
Bringing out all those wood tones for those carpenters amongst us.
Nice. You've done this before, Rich.
I think I might have had a go before, yes.
Okay,
Good.
And then how are you going to leave it?
So leave it, store it, bat face uppermost, let the oil seep
Through the willow.
through the willow.
Perfect.
Okay, to summarise, what are the key points?
So, knocking in, why do we do it? For performance and for protection. How do we do it? With a bat mallet, or it might have been machine repaired. How long? Start from scratch, 4 to 5 hours of manual knocking in, up and down the bat, mainly the edges and the toe. How do we know when it's ready?
Oh, test. I'm going to go C marks, and then we'll see if there's not too many coming up, we can go and use it.
Perfect, not too many seam marks, no indentations.
Yeah.
Once we're then happy that it's ready, let's get some oil on it and you're good to go.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Neil. If you like the video, please hit like. Please subscribe to our channel. We are brilliant, come on, you know you want to. And if you've got any comments, do leave them below. We'll see you next time.